Application. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to gather. We thank you for the decisions that you've laid before us, Lord. We just pray that your hand would be seen in each decision that we make. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Let's turn the flag for our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Bunker, Vice Mayor Roman,
Here.
Commissioner Dial, Commissioner Gallick, Commissioner Plum.
Here. We have a quorum. All right. Do not see Lieutenant Crowder, so we will move on to. All right. You want to go with the city manager's report?
All right, thank you. Several things to report on this month. First, I want to start off with some new employees. Obviously, you know, with the new budget passed, we're going to have several new faces around City Hall in the near future. We already have a couple, so I want to point some of those out. Sue Lipscomb, if you had a chance to meet her, she's our new receptionist. She's been here about 2.5 weeks now. Fantastic addition to our team. I encourage you to stop by and meet her sometime. Also, Martin Perez, the new Public Works Supervisor, who's in his second week and who is here tonight. Martin, stand up for me. Now, I want to give Martin a hard time because if you see him during the day, he's got his safety vest on, he's really sweaty. So he's out in the field every day with the guys working his tail off. So very happy to have him on board, very excited. See a lot of potential here for, just like we talked about, again, overhauling the Public Works Department. This is the perfect guy to lead it. So here's Martin. Martin, why don't you introduce yourself? Come on up here.
My name's Martin Perez. I've been out here for 20 years now. I just relocated back from California. My son was in the service for 13 years. Had some issues with him. We got him better, so I'm back out here to live and stay and work for the Lakeland. Thanks for having me part of the team. I'm doing the best you can. I get 100% all the time. We're working on a lot of projects. We've got a lot of things going right now. You guys get on iWorks anytime. Any type of issues you have on iWorks, I'm a very detailed man to tell you what we're doing, how we're doing it, where the status is, at what time, and how things are going. So we have a great team out there. We've got 2 crews running, and I've been on one of the crews with them. I spend about 6 hours in the field and 3 or 4 hours in the office, so I can be a hands-on. And there's a lot of asphalt work and stuff we're doing. When we're doing 2 teams, we're going to get this done. So we prioritize, and I'm one of the guys that when you call me, I'm out there within 30 minutes. There's a complaint, I'm out there 30 minutes to talk to people. I'm a real big person, and people need to know what we're doing. People like to see their tax monies at work. They like to have questions. My phone's open 24 hours a day. All I have to do is call. I tell them all the time. So that's who I am, and that's what I'm about. Thank you for letting me be part of your team.
Well, do you see this as fun of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. 24 hours.
I won't call you it.
But you could. And I think
I could, but yeah. Hopefully I'll be seen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Yeah. So as you can tell, it's a very different feel in our department so far. Like I said, we're running 2 crews right now. We still have 3 vacancies in the department. As I notified you last time, we're going to use some temps on a temporary basis to fill the gap until we hire those 3 positions, so we'll get more guys out there. So right now, he's running 2 crews with 6 total men, including himself, which brings us to the next line. Eddie Jackson and Alex Fink, you may know them from our litter crew. They've both been moved into different full-time positions. Eddie is with the wastewater department now. Alex is in Public Works, so he's our 5th crew man right now in Public Works, and again, 3 more to go. So that's where we are now. Board of Appeals has an opening. As you all know, Ken Collins resigned his position due to health reasons. So we have advertised that. It went out today. We expect to have applicants in here next month to interview, so you'll be able to appoint a new Board of Appeals member in the coming month. Sports coming up. We have 2 new sports, as you know. This fall we have football and cheerleading. So far, it's going fantastic. We are expecting 60 football players. That's what we accounted for this year. So far, we have 73 registered. We had the uniform fitting last night, and the pad fitting last night went great. A lot of folks are really excited. We got a great looking uniform. In fact, it's right in here. No. Maybe by the end of the meeting, we have one of the helmets come in here. and take a look. Great looking stuff. So a lot of excited people there. Also have 24 registered for cheerleading, which is beyond our expectation. Again, brand new program, so looking for great success in our recreation department. Paving, a couple projects that were recently completed. This was Stonecrest Circle and Woodbridge. Both pictures here are in Woodbridge. Those projects are complete. Those were done within the last couple of weeks. We have more coming. Obviously, you know, in the budget, we have money allocated for more full paving projects, not just patch jobs. So that's one part. As Martin indicated, we do have a lot of other smaller repairs we'll be doing in-house. Again, running multiple crews is going to help that. And just like we talked about in budget season, we expect to make a big impact on our streets in the coming year. IH Park. So we have the concert series. How are we going? You want me to wear this?
You said you might need.
Yeah, here's look at that helmet. So good color. Matt Wright had some influence in the design of the lion, but it's a good thing. Colors are unique. I don't think I find another program with this color in Shelby County, so it's very brandable, which is a good deal. So there's our football helmets. I don't think I should wear that tonight. So the lamp. The Lakeland's amphitheater, we have 4 dates set, and these dates are based on the construction timetable. They're in place. We're going to book in them, so July 30th, August 27th, September 24th, and October 22nd. We'll be getting this out to the public in mass this week. Now the dates are set. The first concert is booked with a band called Swingin' Leroy. Anybody heard of Swingin' Leroy here? Okay, there we go. Great local band, and what we're looking for booking these bands is a band that can cover all genres, all age groups. Since we will have all ages out there, they can cover everything. Great local band. They played the Peabody Rooftop Party recently. Big name in town. Fantastic band. So they'll be out first on July 30th. Another band, I'm not sure if that's the Dantones, they'll be out here with Ted. Kind of be our Lakeland night like we did last fall. So Ted and the Dantones will be playing next to our open. I should have those booked by the end of the week. So we have some feelers out there for other good local bands who can cover a wide range of music and styles. The improvements out there, they're in progress. The contractor is behind. Now, as you know, they were supposed to be done by July 1. They're behind. We built in enough time before that first concert, anticipating if there were any construction delays. There have been. It's on them. They are in the sort of the penalty phase right now, so they are paying us money back every day they're not finished. There have been a couple delays that weren't their fault. The parking lot, of course, getting the permit from the gas company took a little bit more time than we expected. And also, we uncovered a leak within the last week and a half. It was uncovered when they were digging the hillside for the retaining walls for the terracing. They traced that back to the septic tank. There's a hole in the septic tank that's leaking out underground. So that was repaired today, I believe. So that's taken care of. That slowed it down for a little bit, but not too long. Minor delay in their part. So we expect it to be done in more than enough time for the first concert. It's going to look fantastic when everything's done. Deck is in progress, about complete. The building improvements, of course, and the parking lot all nearing completion. The park board, I'm going to jump ahead of your report next week a little bit to talk about an issue that the park board recently done. They wanted to categorize parks between active and passive, and it's really a measure to look at our maintenance and how we maintain parks and how we add things to parks as far as facilities and whatnot. So an active park, being those listed there, City Hall Park, Winter Slopes, IH, Zadie Pool, you know, it's more than just a trail. We have playgrounds, we have other facilities in these parks as active. And then the passive parks, School Springs, Oak Ridge, and Plantation Hills. What we anticipate in those is not any new additions. We're not going to add playgrounds, any other facilities at this point. We're just maintaining them as is, but we're cleaning them up. As you know, we spent a lot of time on Plantation Hills Park recently, clearing that out. We did remove the playground due to safety hazards, but they've also done a lot of other cleanup work around the park, clean up some brush to make it a really nice place. It's passive, but it can still be very nice.
Jim,
Yeah.
just to move it back just a little bit, as far as the leak in the septic tank, are we sure that the contractor didn't do that?
We are sure. Yeah, they weren't anywhere near the tank. So, but they discovered the problem that existed for a while. So, luckily, we were able to repair it and not replace the entire tank. That would have been a much bigger deal.
And as far as IH Park and the concert series, can we discuss tonight as far as how we're going to proceed as far as alcohol beverages, as far as coolers and the beer truck?
We're working on details still. So what we're talking about is some of the things we'll have at these concert series. Like last year, we'll have a bounce house for the kids. We'll have a food truck. We'll probably have some sort of snow cone truck. And we talked about having a beer garden, either having it up on the deck to limit access to those over 21 to get to it, or have a sort of a fenced-in area down closer to the stage. We're working out details on that and asking to present it. So it might be early to start making decisions tonight, but that is in progress. Discussions about
I
that.
have a bunch of questions on that.
Okay.
So I would like to discuss it.
Sure.
Now?
Sure.
Okay. Are people going to be able to bring coolers in?
That's one of the decision points. So comparing it to Arlington, I know Barry knows a lot about Arlington. They don't sell alcohol, but I think they allow it, but it's not advertised. So it's not something that people can bring alcohol in at all. But they do have it there. I'm not sure how it's policed over there or not, but I'm not going to put Barry on the spot. So that's one of the considerations. So, can you bring coolers with other drinks? Kind of just alcohol?
Well, I mean, are you going to have somebody there checking people's coolers to say, oh, well, you don't have beer. Oh, you have some bananas and an apple and a wine cooler. You're okay. I mean, that would cost money to do that. So, I mean, you have to measure and weigh everything that you're trying to implement.
No, and we're not, and at this point, we're not talking about restricting bringing your own. We will have it available for people to do.
Okay.
But we're talking about restricting the areas in which you can have it, because we do want to make it, family friendly, and keeping it safe. There's one argument would say that if we're selling it, we can regulate it. So the bartender on duty is not going to sell to somebody who's had too much. Bring a full cooler full of a couple 12 packs, you get easily out of control. But we'll have folks around. Barry is going to be here, and I think his team are all scheduled to be at our event, so we'll have a police presence around to make sure everything's under control.
Now, you said food trucks.
Mm-hmm.
Do we get any profit from anybody that's out here, or is this just all we want? And you do want people to make money, but does the city benefit at all?
Yes, we charge a fee for a food truck to come in or any vendor to come in. With the beer vendor, we're talking through a couple different options. One is have a flat fee that they pay, or have a percentage of the sales, which seems more appropriate, not knowing how many people will have there, how many sales they'll have. So that's probably the better way to do it. So yeah, we will earn revenue off of the vendors.
Well, and if there's a minimum, I mean, if they come and they bomb, I realize that we might want to just say, hey,
Yeah,
take
absolutely.
whatever you made, we're sorry, and give us another shot, because we don't want to discourage anybody.
Absolutely.
So, IH, does it have 2 or 3 tiers?
It has 3 total tiers, 2 new tiers.
That was a problem I had trying to understand all of that as far as, I thought we were going to have 3 seated tiers, and we have 2. And I thought we were going to have 3.
Aren't there 3?
There's 3 tiers, 2 walls. I think Commissioner Plunk was thinking it'd be 3
I
walls.
thought it was going to be 3.
There's 2 walls.
No, there's 2 walls.
Yeah, and they'll go from the walkway down to where the field lines of the septic system start. So it's the slopey parts. What it's going to do, it's going to be from the trail, it's going to be a gradual incline, for a seating area down to the first wall. It's about an 18-inch wall, about 18 inches. Kind of a seating wall you could use for seating. Then have another terrace, again, lightly sloped down to the next wall, and that'll tie into the existing grade where the septic field lines are. So what it does, right now, if you go out there, it's hard to sit right up near the trail that's steep. So we're fixing that problem, so you'll be able to, put a chair up there and not have a fear of tipping over, blowing down the hill. So now we hope that most of the seating occurs down closer to the stage, but we do have it available on the sit all the way up to the trail.
I went by there yesterday expecting it to be finished, and it was sort of.
Yep, and they're behind.
They
So.
weren't even close, actually, but thought I was going to walk up and it's going to be beautiful. It's not quite like that yet, but as far as the coolers, and I thought the whole concept of this series of concerts was that it was going to be family friendly and bring your cooler, bring your sandwiches, I mean, whether it's a beer or Coke or anything, that just bring whatever you want. I think it could go either way. If we have a beer truck, I know I'm not going to bring a cooler out there. If I can go to a beer truck, a wine cooler, or anything like that, but a lot of families want to bring a lot, probably maybe 2 coolers. So I think it should go either way. It's whatever you want, whatever they want.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. I mean, it's a free concert. We're not checking tickets at the door or anything. So I think it's very appropriate to have a family environment, bring your own stuff, but have alternatives there. I mean, last year, the Central Barbecue food truck was a huge hit. A lot of folks, I think a lot of folks got food to bring home for dinner after the concert. So they did a great job with that. So we'll have the options there that we'll be promoting. But again, I don't want to be looking through coolers at the top of the hill for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will be like me, that I'm not gonna bring a cooler or bring anything out there. I'm gonna go to the hot dog, that's what it's for.
Right.
Carnival, I'm used to getting a hot dog,
Mm-hmm.
so.
That's right.
The bouncy house, where's that gonna be?
It goes up on the hill, sort of where the maintenance garage is on the backside.
Okay.
That side of the hill. That's where we had it last time. There's a flat area up there, and it worked well. The problem with bringing it down closer is it has a generator that makes noise, so keeping it out of the way. And it was nice, so the parents can hang up there near it and still be in full view of the stage.
They can't,
Mhm.
because Arlington have that stuff at their concert?
I believe they do, yeah. Yeah, they have bounce house and vendors and all sorts of stuff. We actually met with one of the organizers of the Arlington concert series yesterday, just kind of pick her brain, give ideas, and have a discussion about different elements that we want to have out here.
Is this the proper time to bring up the restaurants?
Sure.
Okay, because I had an idea that, I know that we've said that $200,000 or whatever outrageous amounts for the restrooms. So that, the idea I had was that, why don't we set aside $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 say a year, and instead of trying to do it all at one time, let's just do it over like a 5-year period. And maybe the first year, we might take the $50,000 and maybe buy the septic tank, but do something each year. So at the end of the 5 years or whatever it is that we vote on, it'll be finished. And rather than put the money aside, I mean, let's go ahead. We would go ahead and just do it year by year.
Mm-hmm.
That's just an idea. I mean, I think that would be
Yeah, I think that's one approach that may be very appropriate, and it might even go beyond the bathrooms.
Yeah.
Later tonight, you're going to hear a presentation about the IH Park Master Plan, which will have all sorts of amenities to be added to IH Park. So a plan like that could be put in place. Jeopardy music.
I do have a question about, it's not about the IH Park, but it's about Huffman Puff, and we've already talked about roads, unless we're going to revisit that. I just wanted to know, I know that some of the reasoning is because the state hasn't gotten back to us on Huffman Puff. How often do we talk to them about this?
About every week, I get in touch with him. Now, the last I heard, he was talking about entering into a new agreement with us because some of the financial things have changed since the original agreement was back, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. And so I emailed him again today because I haven't heard anything in several days. And so I emailed him again today to find out what the status on it was. I haven't heard anything back. It seems like to me that they're probably going to stick with the old contract since I haven't heard anything back. But that was the last thing I heard was he was considering just drafting a new contract for us to sign since some of the financial things have changed. Like our construction cost, for instance, has gone up, and we talked about that during the budget. And so with FHWA and TDOT's legal department and seeing the change in cost, he thinks it almost might be cleaner and easier just to do a whole new contract and push that through quicker than trying to amend the existing contract.
I mean, I guess my concern is those roads are so poor. We already had one accident where somebody fell off the road. And if you're not careful, especially in the dark, you will fall off the road. Do they not understand that?
Yeah,
I mean, I know that didn't they let the environmental study lapse or?
The consulting firm that's over the contract, it lapsed while under their purview. So that has been reevaluated, it has been reapproved. So the only thing we're waiting on is just TDOT's, notice to proceed for construction, which I'm not sure what their holdup is besides him telling me about the difference in finances for the construction end of it and getting that final approval through their legal department through FHWA. So that's the last piece that we need before we can bid it. And they keep telling me just any day, and so I reach out to them every week.
But I mean, how long have they been telling you that every day?
For about the last month.
Well,
This is their year end, though. We don't expect a whole lot from
Okay.
TDOT between June 10th and the end of July, other than they scramble to get their year end stuff done.
but, I mean, this has been going on. I've been asking about this for years before you even came back. So, I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
how, at what point do you say, okay, the person I'm dealing with, which if you've only been dealing with them a month, I get that. But I mean, at what point do you say, this is enough? Who is the supervisor here and what's going on? Because really, I mean, what if somebody gets hurt bad on that road? Whose fault is it? Is it ours?
I mean, it's our road, yeah.
Well,
So,
then-
but I mean, I've been talking to the same person at TDOT. I mean, we have like a, Region 4 local programs coordinator, and that's the person I've been talking to. I've even talked to his boss. They're, only confined with what they can do, under their department, but, they have a legal department that has to review everything. Then they have the federal government, FHWA, that also is part of this puzzle, and so all of these things are working together, and that's why it just takes so long to get these projects off the ground. It's not uncommon. And I've been talking to them virtually every week or two since I started in November, and it's just,
Again, I mean, I get that, hey, a lot of these things take a long time, but that road is horrible. And
Jim,
I
can you
agree.
add, as part of your weekly status report, just a weekly update until we get to where we want to go? That
Sure.
way, we're not waiting 3 weeks or a month, and then we kind of have this back and forth. Well, the part of the back and forth is that, we come at you every month, like, hasn't nothing changed in a month? And we understand it's not all in your control, but at the same time, you can add that to your weekly report, so as we see things dragging, we can say, hey, what do we need to do to get,
Sure.
if we can do anything to get involved. Commissioner Plum, do you have anything else on this city manager's report?
One other thing, I put this idea to city manager as far as contacting Ron Law. I mean, he's our representative. I mean, why is he not involved in this? Why can't we get him involved? I mean, I have no pull with anybody at the Capitol, but Ron does. He's been up there for 8 or 10 years. He should have a lot of friends up there. Why can't we call Ron every day? Why can't Emily call Ron every day and say, Ron, we need your help? We have these meetings every year where we get together,
And Mark Norris too. So,
and we're,
Mark Norris also.
right. Why can't we use our contacts there? I don't even know if Ron is aware of all this that's going on at Lakeland, and he's our representative.
Anything else? Is everybody okay moving on?
I just have a few more slides, I'll be quite done. All another 30.
I'm just kidding, I'm just looking back there.
I think this is it. I just want to point out, if you notice walking in the building tonight, there's new landscaping up front, some new planters. That's a KLB project they completed end of the last week with 5 new planters in front of City Hall. So a nice volunteer project to get that done.
That's good.
Looks good too.
Yeah. And that's it.
Thank you, sir. All right, I believe we have Sergeant Reed here to give us our sheriff's report, sir.
Yes, sir. Repeating everyone, I do apologize for being late. I also apologize for having some problems opening up the full report.
Sure.
The only difference is that, we still have a few homes where cars are unlocked and, it's not it's down over this week, but we still have that. We also have some homes where garages are left open and people can check things out. So we're getting encouraging everyone to be mindful of that. But other than that, there's not anything, any changes to the report from the last report. Again, we encourage everyone, if they see something, say something, contact us. We're truly be there to assist.
I have a question, since you don't have the report, you may not know.
Commissioner Gallup?
There was, thank you. There was a robbery on 64. Where was, do you know the business that was in? Because it didn't say it in the report, it just had an address, and I don't know what's at that address.
The backup or
Okay.
backup reimbursement.
Any other questions for Sergeant Reed? Seeing none, thank you for your service, sir. All right, I see nobody signed up for public discussion, and looks like we already have the your minutes for the consent agenda, so we have a presentation next. Is that correct, ma'am?
Regular agenda presentation of best practices for fund balance policy development.
I see PFM.
I just emailed them presentation. Oh, I thought you have it. Order. Do you want to pass this on?
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Just state your name.
Sure. My name is Kyle Wright. I'm a senior analyst at Public Financial Management. Thanks, appreciate you guys taking the time to hear about this fund balance report. Here for you.
Next.
Should I wait for?
No, did you have something that you put up there?
I think he's going to just project the presentation that you have in front of you. So BFM was tasked with helping the city decide on what an appropriate fund balance level may be. And fund balance, just to put it in layman terms, is essentially the same as a savings account or you or I might have, right? It's supposed to help you get through tumultuous times, whether there's some economic turmoil, market fluctuations, cash flow shortages, anything like any unforeseen circumstances such as those. And so BFM worked in conjunction with the finance department here to help you guys analyze what other cities and municipalities in the area are doing, what some of the best practices are, and then analyze why it may or may not be beneficial to do certain criteria. And so we're going to kind of skip past the first page. That's just a brief overview. I'm going to try not to read any of this to you because it's available to you, but there are some things that I do want to emphasize within the presentation. So if you could just skip to the second page, credit rating agencies, sorry, third page, my apologies. All right, so when you have a fund balance policy, there's really two criteria that you really want to measure yourself by. One of those criteria is the credit rating agency, right? We're all familiar with how credit ratings work. The higher your credit rating, the less it costs you to borrow money. And it's very similar for a municipality. So if you're a municipality who has a AAA rating, it's much less expensive for you to borrow money versus a municipality, excuse me, with a BAA rating or below. Or it's also sliding scale, right? AAA being the highest, and of course, as you go down, you become AA, single A, BAA, and so on. And then you get to non-investment grade ratings down there. Excuse me, so credit rating, or excuse me, Moody's, which rates the city of Lakeland, has assigned the city of Lakeland an AA3, which is a pretty solid rating. And it's something that the city worked very hard to make sure that Moody's was aware of all the good work that you guys are doing and how fiscally conservative you guys are being and how much thought and effort you put into planning, making sure that the future of Lakeland is bright and prosperous. And so that's a credit to you all, and I'm sure you guys want to make sure that you protect that rating going forward. I'm going to take some time to read these two bullets right here, which I think are important. So I apologize if I bore you, but I think it's important. So Moody's, which is the credit rating that, the credit agency that rates the city of Lakeland, states that the fund balance communicates valuable information about both the past and the future. It also identifies the liquid resources available to fund unforeseen contingencies as well as likely future liabilities. And so just to put that in layman terms, essentially Moody's is saying that a fund balance is important because in case things happen, right? We all have been there where our transmission in our car goes out, or we think we're getting paid on the 1st and we get paid on the 3rd and we're late on our rent. very similar circumstances here. You want to make sure that the city is prepared to cover any cash flow shortages that may happen. Maybe tax collections come in less than they were anticipated. Maybe there's some new project that needs to be created ASAP and you guys want to cash fund it and then reimburse yourself from bond proceeds. So all of those things are critical to consider when you think about having a fund balance policy. And so Standard & Poor's goes a little bit further. Standard & Poor's does not currently rate the city of the city of Lakeland, but they are one of the big three rating agencies. And Standard & Poor's says a formalized financial reserve policy is a consistent feature of most of S&P's highly rated credits. In our view, reserves provide financial flexibility to react to budget shortfalls or other unforeseen circumstances in a timely manner. So essentially, what both of the credit rating agencies are saying is that a fund balance positions you in a way that you can react proactively as opposed to reactively to anything that happens that may stress the budget. We go to the next slide. So as I stated before, Moody's does rate the city of Lakeland. And so we've taken some bullets. The first two bullets are straight from their report that they gave us in 2015 when we did the $20 million note. And so the first bullet, I'm going to read it again to you just because I want to emphasize these points. The city finished fiscal 2014 with a general fund balance of $6.48 million, a strong 118.2% of revenues, which represented a $1.46 million addition to reserves. However, expenditures exceeded revenues by $840,000 because $3.6 million was spent on capital projects. And so this is a good example of when you had fund balance, you have reserves enough to make sure that your projects that you wanted to get done were able to be completed in a timely fashion. And also, you also see how Moody's emphasizes here a strong 118.2% of revenues, again emphasizing the importance of having fund balance and having a pretty significant fund balance in that. They go on to say the city of Lakeland is well managed, evidenced by strong reserve levels. And so they're applauding you guys for making sure that the fund balance is fair and adequate given the considerations of the city. So this graph right here just simply shows factors that could affect the rating. And you see on the left that's positive factors. You see on the right that that's negative factors. I want to stress to you that these are factors that could impact the rating, not that are impacting the rating. And you'll see that growth in reserves and depletion in reserves are two pretty big criteria that Moody's is concerned with for the future of Lakeland. They want to make sure that you guys are continue to be positioned to react proactively. And then Moody's goes on to state there is some elevated debt burden and variable rate exposure as a challenge to the city, but that's Jim and Jessica are both very well aware of that and are engaged with us every day trying to make sure that the city is positioned to react to that should the time come. And then of course we just tell you at the end that it's a AA3 rating. So the next page just simply gives you a tabular and a graphical representation of some of Moody's local government medians. And so basically Moody's rates a lot of cities across the nation, a lot of municipalities, and they aggregate all this data so that it's available to people who use the service. And as you can see, there's different populations, right? We've aggregated all the cities at the top, and then we have cities that have a population of 50,000 to 100,000, and cities with a population of less than 50,000. And as you can see, the cities with less than 50,000 people tend to have a higher fund balance than those with higher populations. And that's because the population, the smaller the city size, the more agile it tends to have to be because there aren't as many people from which you can draw tax revenues, and you have to make sure that you can react a little more expediently than bigger cities maybe that have larger populations. And then the bottom right corner, you just see a graphical representation of the same information. So if we go to the next page. So the second criteria, if you remember, I spoke about the two criteria. You're primarily concerned about the first criteria being the rating agency perspective, the second criteria being the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association. And they are basically they're basically an authority on the subject of how to run a company. So we've relied on them pretty heavily to make sure that we understand what the best practices may be and make sure that we're communicating those best practices to you. So here I'm not going to spend any time necessarily delving into these first couple bullets, but it basically is a summary of what we've discussed so far. But what is important that we haven't discussed so far is the use and replenishment of the fund balance. And so the most common question that you're going to run into is, okay, if we have X number of dollars in the fund balance, how can we use it? Why can we use it? And how do we replenish it once we do use it? And so this is just a few examples of why you would want to use it and how you might want to think about replenishing if you do use it, right? So just be aware that that is probably the next evolution of fund balance policy planning. The first hurdle you want to think about when you're planning for a fund balance is to make sure that you have a policy in place. Make sure that you can definitively say that our policy is X and we adhere to that and we do it because of Y, right? And then the next policy is, okay, well, if it's not X, we've used it because of this, and we're going to replenish it in this method, and we plan on doing that by such a time. And if you have both of those components to your fund balance policy, then it's going to make it much easier for the city to basically go forward and operate with making sure that you're proactively prepared to proactively prepared to encounter any unforeseen circumstances. And so the next page is about, again, more GFOA recommendations. And we just wanted to point out on this page that the GFOA states that the minimum fund balance that they would recommend is to maintain unrestricted fund balance in the general fund of no less than 2 months of general fund operating revenues or expenditures. And so we wanted to caveat that by saying that GFOA recommends that at a minimum. And that may not necessarily be the best course of action for this municipality or any other municipality. Each municipality is a microcosm, should consider whatever criteria they have to consider to make sure that the policy they adopt is best for them. So we have a few bullets down here where we speak about how the city has historically benefited from healthy reserves in order to cash flow, one-time expenditures, and provide upfront operational needs prior to receipt of tax revenues. And so we've given a few examples here, and then we have a slight, not concern, but a slight caveat as well. In the future, we're going to have a $500,000 maintenance of effort for the school system. And then there are also going to be some debt service payments that are going to be coming due in 2017 that come from the 2015 note. Okay, so slide 8. What we've done here is we've taken a few examples of Tennessee clients, of PFM clients specifically, and we've pulled from their policies just a little blurb about what their policy may be. And then we've tried to show you graphically, or I guess tabularly, how that may represent itself in their particular financials. So for example, City of Spring Hill has a policy that says 15 to 30% of general fund revenues. And so we've taken the minimum, as you'll see in the third column, and then we say that's obviously the bare minimum that they would be required to have. FY15 actual, the fourth column, shows what they actually have on hand in the general fund balance. And then the last column just shows a percentage of the actual amount that they have on hand when compared to the minimum. Now, as you can see, most of them are well over 100%. And so the takeaway from this graph is essentially that you don't necessarily have to be shy about exceeding your minimum. The minimum is always great, right? You always want to have your minimum, but your minimum is not necessarily, it's not necessarily a bad thing to have more than your minimum. And so at the bottom of the slide, we've basically taken the policies that you see above, and we've applied them to Lakeland using the FY17 numbers. And so you have a minimum column, and then again, you have the percentage of actual as a percentage of minimum. What's important to note about this is that this graph does not take into account the $4.9 million in variable rate debt service. And variable rate debt service accounts for approximately 19% of the city's total debt profile. So variable rate debt service, as you're aware, fluctuates with the market. So if the market were to increase, the debt service due on that particular piece of debt, or two pieces of debt as it actually is, may increase as well, in which case you'd have to pay for that. And most likely you're either going to have to, I'm not going to say that, so you'll have to pay for it. All right, so what we've provided for you on the next slide is the just a snapshot of the city's debt profile. As you can see, most of the debt is fixed, and most of that is from the $20 million note that was issued in 2015. And then you have the small piece that's the variable rate debt in, I think that's blue, in blue. And then we just have provided here a graphical representation in the lower right-hand corner of the amortization of that debt. And you can see that it amortizes fairly rapidly, and then in about 2029, it falls off to substantially zero. And so on the next slide, we've prepared for you guys some considerations that you might want to take into account when thinking about your fund balance. And so basically what we're thinking about here is you have multiple factors that you want to consider, and you want to make sure that you restrict the use of the fund balance to anything that you deem appropriate and worthwhile that's contained in your fund balance policy, and then that you also make sure that you have a policy that goes into how to replenish the policy and how to make sure that if you do use it, you can replenish it in a timely fashion. So at the very bottom of the page, you'll see that we've taken the liberty of providing a policy for you guys, 20 to 30% of general fund revenues. That is not necessarily what we're pushing on you, but we feel that that is an adequate place with which to start. And then the policy, should it be needed to be amended in the future, of course you have that opportunity. You'll see cash flow purposes and variable rate exposure below that. Those are numbers that we deducted just to make sure that the fund balance policy that we're considering was appropriate given the demands of the city. And so we've settled on the fund balance at the bottom of the page, which would put you at essentially 257% actual as a percent of minimum. And if you guys are curious, the average actual percent of minimum for Tennessee communities on page 8 is 192%. So we feel that, I'm sorry.
That's of those that actually have a minimum policy. What percentage of them don't have a minimum policy?
That's a great question. I don't have a solid answer for you in terms of the actual percentage. I don't believe most communities these days are going to have a fund balance policy. I would venture to say less than a quarter of them don't. But one thing to consider is that the smaller the community, the less likely it is to have a policy. So the larger your community, the more likely it is to have a policy, and the faster your community is growing, probably the more critical it is to have a policy.
I think the only other thing I would point out to that is that your proximity to a metro area will also have an impact on that. Meaning communities that are in a metro area are more likely to be sophisticated and looking towards a policy versus those that are a little bit more rural in nature. That's a general kind of, you can see the donuts form not only in Tennessee but across the country.
Absolutely. So on page 11, we just go into a little bit more detail about the use of fund balance and why it may behoove the city to have certain policy restrictions on when it's used and how to replenish it if it is used. As you can see, we've talked about unanticipated expenditures, cash flow purposes, grant anticipation, one-time capital expenditures, and then we've also given some guidelines on how and when to replenish the general fund balance. So that is the conclusion of the presentation.
I wanted to point out one thing too.
Yes, Jessica.
We, in talking with Moody's when we were getting rated or re-rated, this is something that we promised them that we were going to do. So we don't ever want to have to go back to them and say, we said we were going to, but we
didn't. So
Right,
that's
I mean, that was a direct question of the city, is do you have a fund balance policy?
This was done at the request of everybody on this board. I mean, this was very important to us. I think we all, at some point, when we were running for office, said that debt, responsible debt controls were a big part of what we were about. So it's not about whether or not we do it. Actually, the number you suggested was much lower than I was thinking. So it looks good. Do we have any questions? So no questions. Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Next item, ma'am.
Resolution adopting the IH Park Master Plan as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Board.
This is, I wanted to introduce Dean Thomas. He's been retained to develop the IH Park Master Plan. This will give a little background on this and a reminder. Last year, we started talking about immediate projects in IH, like the hill terracing, the building improvements, the parking lot. We did those right away with the thought we'd come back with a master plan for the entire park. Then in the future, we could prioritize those projects over the next several years. Now, this is a pie in the sky. This will be your vision for the park once this is adopted, and then we can prioritize projects over the years and assign money to them. So Dean is here to present what they've come up with. I'll turn it over to Dean.
Also here with me tonight, one of our senior associates, Sam Henry, who's also taking part in our presentation tonight. We got to turn that the other way. I guess we can flip that one. Awesome.
He's a little smarter than me.
Now y'all know why I brought Sam Henry to the meeting. He's my technical guy. Great. Let me get you first oriented. This is the overall master plan for the park. Here is Canada Road. I know this is a little hard to see because it is a very large piece of property that you have. Here is the existing parking lot, community center, senior center. And of course, the lake is probably the easiest thing to see. This is the gravel parking lot that is now being installed. I think one thing that we found when we first started looking at the park, we felt that there's a lot of land that's just not being utilized as much as it possibly could. A lot of nice primitive trails, but felt like we needed to find some other way to use the property, but also in the right way to find something that very complements what's already out there. We also felt that it seemed like this thought process was occurring that you can't leave the existing parking lot. It's like you get to there and that's where you go unless you don't want to go foot traffic. Well, we felt two things, have an enlargement of one of the things. First of all, this is where the existing gravel is. Extend that gravel path, that drive, and parking, have a circular parking area, getting people down closer into the park. Also, off of the existing parking lot, is actually build a new park road that would actually traverse down past the existing pavilion and have a small turnaround parking lot where there's an open field area in this location. Now I want to show the enlargement in just a second. And then we have also introduced a new pavilion and a fishing pier and a pavilion on here and a fishing pier, and open up the park to a lot more user groups and get the opportunity. The pavilions also can be a money generator. Because when you're renting those pavilions, it helps get some of that money. Right as you leave the existing parking lot, there is an embankment. We would lose a few trees, but we felt like it's really important to get back into the park so we can start utilizing a lot of the other acreages back there. As we traverse through there, we could miss all of the big trees and just take out just whatever under scrubs, trees, and things like that to get back to the building. The back part of the property, once we got people back to this location, we felt like this would be a great place to introduce a disc golf course. Disc golf is very low, so I'd say low in this activity. It's very conducive to the woods. All you have to do is clear out just the underbrush and some of the smaller trees. The bigger trees actually can stay in the fairways. You just have to have a a route for the player to be able to throw the disc around the trees. And so the period of trees, and also just leave all the trails the way they are. Let them cross the disc golf because it's very complementary of each other. Can we go to the other slides? Oh, it's, there would be a little bit more detail here. Yeah. We've got to turn that one too. This is a little bit more of an enlargement of the, what we call the activity zone area. Here's the existing parking lot. We're moving the entrance down here to the new proposed entrance once Canada Road is improved to help with the sight line. It's pretty hard to get in and out of there sometimes. So by moving that entrance down, it ties in here, we would curve back, pick up some additional parking, and then work into, this is where we would leave the parking lot, swing away from the building, come down by the existing pavilion, add just a small amount of parking by the existing pavilion, and come down here with a little turnaround parking area, provide a new pavilion on this open field area. And then this is where we have a issue here on this side. So this is kind of a nice activity area, all passive in nature. Here's where we extend, could be gravel parking lot. Then here have more little bit entry area and another pavilion, and then another fishing area. The improvements up to here, what we did was we kind of do a hook road into the maintenance area. Rather than leave all that wide open, and just with some landscaping, we can kind of cover the whole front of the maintenance area. We want it to be a lot nicer view to look back. So it's very simple and very inexpensive just to take care of that. Right off of the existing pavilion, there's an area just below that, down in here, that we think we propose a nice play area. What we actually calling these more of like a discovery type of playground area, where we get into native material using climbing walls. We could do a tree house. We could do, this is balance log. We're actually using natural materials and let the kids kind of discover their own play. There's a nice little slope to this. It'd be very nice to put maybe a very low-key wall in there, so we can have a two-tiered playground. We could actually slide from the top tier down to the bottom tier. So I think this is a great location for that kind of activity. Over in your event lawn, this, I know it's hard to see right there, the two new walls that are being built. We were proposing what we call party decks. Where here's one in the tree here, this would be up in this area, we have a party deck area where you can actually run out those decks when you're having your events there. In front of the existing stage, we thought it might be a good idea to put in some, in the future, some crushed stone. What you're going to find over here, probably by the end, is probably not going to be much grass left, because everybody likes to go right there and kind of get more of a harder paved surface, not near that, just on the front of the stage area. We've also introduced a ramp up to the stage, which really needs to be done from an ADA standpoint. We're supposed to have a ramp to the stage, so that's something that probably should be added in the future. Trails. I might have to go back to the other map. I don't know if you see it in color. We were proposing all the trails in this color here. It's kind of a tan color. You see there around the lake, all to be paved, be an asphalt trail. It actually will open up the user group, so now you can have people that can use it for strollers, wheelchairs, even walkers, because it's very difficult to do that on that gravel. So that really opens up a whole new user group to be able to use the trail system. There is another trail we proposed coming off of this new entrance, going back through the disc golf area. There's a primitive trail that runs back through there now. We were also proposing that one be paved. So now you have a nice big looped trail system of asphalt trail throughout the park. So now you've got your asphalt users, and you can also keep all the primitive trails for people that don't want to use that. So you kind of get a whole different user group. I believe that walked through it pretty fast, but I want to certainly ask a question. One thing that the Park Commission asked us to look at, first question was, what do some of these things cost? Somebody started asking us. And we didn't have an answer at that point. We ended up cost testing. So Sam went back and off of this master plan, we did some measuring, got some square footages, got some linked trails. And I'm gonna let Sam walk through some of the major items and costs that are associated with those. And you gotta keep in mind, these are estimates because we're not working with construction documents. We're working off of aerial photograph and a master plan. But these are prices we've gotten from some of our other projects that we've implemented. So we feel like we got some pretty real numbers for you. And I'm gonna let Sam run through those.
And what we've done is kind of list these out as a menu so you can see how much they are. And if in the future, you know, you've got a goal to reach, I guess. Now, all these prices, you know, we purposely made them high because we don't know how long it's going to be before you get to it. Things can change. And these are just based on a master plan drawing rather than actual construction plans and things like that. But we've given you kind of broad categories, and my cheat sheet, I have exactly what is included in each of those broad categories. So I'll go through that very quickly. The first one, the park roadway extension, like Dean said, is where we add the additional road. There's grading involved in that. There's drainage involved in that. Parking, asphalt, and sidewalks. So that's what that includes. The playground, like Dean said, that's kind of, we've called it an adventure playground, discovery playground. We've actually done several of these. The kids love them, and I think one of the main reasons we thought that would work out here is just the setting and the character. It's got these natural wood. So a playground that uses these natural stone and wood elements would really fit out there. Now that is a high price, but I mean that would give you everything you want. So these are definitely numbers where you can come down from. The restroom building, we talked about that, which is located at this point, kind of the high point on the site. It's about 125. The maintenance building improvements, that's what Dean mentioned. That's adding paving, fencing, and landscaping around the maintenance building. The gravel parking addition is this additional parking that Dean has mentioned. Fishing piers, 30,000 a piece is a good number for that. The amphitheater lawn improvements, that was the gravel paving, the decks, some additional trail included in that. The pavilion and lawn is this area back here where Dean talked about adding additional pavilion. There'd be some grading, some clearing, some grassing that needed to go on back there. The asphalt trail on the lake is paving that existing kind of gravel path that goes around the lake. The asphalt trail of this golf course is the one that Dean mentioned that goes all the way back. The Greenbelt connection it starts here and it goes up along the parking lot across. I think there's a Greenbelt plan that takes advantage of the easement, so that was that piece. And the disc golf course, and then rain gardens. Talking with Emily, that was something that the city was maybe looking at doing, is implementing some rain gardens. And so we conceptually located some along the amphitheater lawn, and we got 3 or 4 in there, and $10,000 covers that. So, in case you're wondering, all these together comes to about 1.2.
What's a rain garden?
It's a instead of you using pipes and inlets to control stormwater, it's called a natural system. But what it does is you direct drainage into it. It's got growing soil. It's got gravel, and what it does is it collects rainwater and allows it to infiltrate into the soil. It also grows plants and provides animal habitat. So it's kind of a low impact way of providing stormwater control versus pipes and inlets and culverts and things like that.
There's 2 on back, if you want to see firsthand. We have 2 rain gardens right out front of the back door here.
Any questions?
I called Robbie about some of this stuff the other day. The road all the way back, that goes back there, there's currently a road, and we've had to block that off because people do drugs and have sex and drink and do all kinds of things, and that's why they have it shut off. We don't have labor to go down there and monitor that, so that is a big concern of mine. I think some of the things are great. I do think like the fishing piers and some of the things that go down there are awesome, but my concern is, like Zadie Pool, back out where it's not in the open, you're going to run into the same kind of dynamic. And kids naturally are going to, be attracted to that area to go and party because nobody's back there monitoring. So,
Are you having that problem during the day?
we don't have that because it's locked off right now. But
You could gate that and only let it be open during the day, if it's day use, and close it at night.
And I don't know if we have it during the day, but that's why they blocked it off. Because we don't have police either, we have Shelby County Sheriff. The other issue is the labor to maintain this. One of the key things from a lot of the planning that's gone into the city is I don't see a lot of thought process out on how this stuff is going to be maintained. For instance, we did a natural habitat on Canada Road for the medians, and that turned into a big eyesore, and there was never any thought process of labor and how to maintain it. So maintaining a lot of these things is also, because it's not just what it costs, it's what it costs the city in the long run. The other thing is I have repeatedly, I hear two things. A dog park, people bug me all the time, say, when are we going to get a dog park? So that's something that's key. And the other thing is, I teach a fitness class at IH Clubhouse 3 times a week. And I can tell you, people are out there all the time walking the trails, running, jogging, riding their bikes. A fitness and workout station, you know, would be awesome out there because that is what people use that for now.
Yeah, that's a neat trail system out here.
And that's not extremely expensive. You can do it a little bit less expensive. Anyway, there's all kinds of things that you can do.
I think one of the best ones that you make, you certainly don't want to build something you can't maintain because that did come to light. You have to make sure you have the workforce in place when you're starting to do some
Well,
improvements.
I mean, we don't even have the workforce in place right now to keep up with the bushes and the weeds that are there. So I can't see, we're going to put landscaping in front of some building to keep it nice. You're not going to pay, the way that things are right now, they are not going to pay attention to that. They don't even pay attention to the weeds that are out in front, so much less out in back.
Let me just clarify something, Commissioner Plunk. This, you guys did the master plan at the Park and Rec's request, and your engagement with him is over, right? You're now here just to help present what you guys.
Right, just present some of the findings and some of the ideas that we had.
I just want to make sure that this wasn't a give you ideas and you go back and change something. This is a recommendation from the Parks Department to.
But it's easy for us to add some notes, like say the exercise stations, the offices, can add those items. Yeah, that's great.
And we are discussing fitness stations and dog park at other locations in our Parks Department meetings. So.
IH, people use that every day for that.
Commissioner Plunk?
I'm asking, excuse me, I wonder about the projections that you're making. One of them being the restroom building for $125,000. We can't, we can't get a toilet for less than
$125,000 for 2 toilets.
That's not a big restroom. It's probably one guy urinal on the toilet on the inside. It's a pretty
we're being told that.
No, that's what they told us.
That's what they told us.
big.
That's what they said. She said two stalls, 125.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're ridiculously expensive. They just, you just can't, you can't build them like they do a house. You can't do sheet rock, you know, you have to build a lot of concrete block.
Do we have any other questions for the presenters? Did you have? I don't think Commissioner Plunk.
I like, there's a lot of these suggestions I think that wish we could have them right now, you know, that some of these projections as far as the cost, I'm not so sure about that. I mean, I'm questioning you, but I'd sure love to have more proof or backup on what you're projecting for the cost of all these things.
Yeah, park and recreation improvements are not inexpensive. They are one of the more expensive things to do. It's like it's a little bit of everything, a little bit of grading, a little bit of utility work, a little bit of masonry.
I think Commissioner Plunk thought it was a little cheap.
Yeah, it just.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, you did that.
What is the forecast for this? I mean, when I called Robbie because I had a bunch of questions, and the way that we talked, it was, this is an idea, and we were going to say, yes, we want this plan, or no, we don't want this plan, we want it with adaptations or whatever. These prices, are these today's prices?
Those have a little bit of inflation on them, but not a lot. They're closer to today's prices. So 5 years from now, we'd have to adjust
Okay.
the prices.
Okay.
This is probably a 25-year plan. It's just that kind of.
So what are the next steps?
Might add that, so adopting the plan is creating our vision, so we have a guiding document. So anything we plan for in the future, we come up with a development plan as part of our budget every year. I know Commissioner Plunk offered earlier to do something like set aside money per year. You know, that's what we do every year in the budget. We may have a 5-year plan, or what projects take priority on this plan, put them in order, how much they're going to cost. When we get to the annual budget, we can dig into the details more, possibly get construction documents, get better cost estimates, talk about maintenance, how we're going to handle maintenance, all that part. But the first step is get the vision in place. And then from there, we go into more, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, prioritizing improvements, and go from there. But having a vision, it's similar to what we're doing at the interchange. We have a plan that's going to be coming up, setting our vision for the interchange. And what that does is we can communicate with people what we want to see there. So we have an idea, here's what it is, we want to strive for. Same thing with this plan, having a plan is the very first step.
Would you call this your wish list?
That's it, so we call it a master plan. So again, it's a vision for the full build-up. Knowing we can't build the whole thing next year, you said it might be a 25-year plan that's probably accurate, or longer, depending on how much money you want to allocate every year towards a certain improvement.
This plan is this plan. It's not with adaptations or ideas other than this, correct?
Correct. Now, there's a couple different things. One, based on the comments tonight, we could easily add in the fitness, the fitness stations and other tweaks to this plan. And we can update it annually. We can update it if there's something new and improved that comes out that we would like to add that we didn't know about now. We can amend this plan over time. But I think having the vision is going to be key.
How are we going to monitor this? How are you going to make sure that it's safe back in the woods? I mean, I'm really concerned about that stuff because we have issues in other places that aren't as remote. And I know when I talked to Robbie, we talked about Shelby Farms and some other things. Well, they have police and they have a staff. We don't. So how do you, I mean, if we were to go ahead and say, okay, this is great, I'm hesitant to do that because I don't know how it's going to, how it's going to be maintained and what's going to go on.
Sure. I think just on the surface, without digging into the detailed plan to extend the road, I think like gating the drive is key at night. We want to make sure that, most of the bad stuff is going to happen at night. So we gate that off, at dusk. A lot of parks do that all over the place. So you can't drive a vehicle down there at night. Currently, we don't have a problem with walk-up traffic problems at night at I-8. We have it at Dayton Pool for sure. That's a major problem. We don't have any now. I think it's something that would have to be considered when we get to that phase of the project. Before we pull the trigger on it, to know that we can keep it safe and maintain it. And a maintenance plan is always going to come along with any part that we do. We never used to do them. Now we're doing them. As you know, with the athletic park, Robbie's put together a full maintenance plan, and that's one of the considerations when we look to construct it. We also have to consider the annual maintenance of it and how we're going to provide the cost for that. The additional employees, the additional cost for other things to maintain it. I think we have to consider those, especially when we get down to the specific project. Again, it's probably not, we don't want to dig into too many details yet. We're setting our vision, but when we get down to considering an aspect of it, we need to deal with it. And again, if we get down to, we don't feel comfortable with the safety aspect when we're getting ready to build this road, we change it. If we can't adequately address the security issue, is that a deal killer for a component? Then we deal with it.
But they've changed it again. I guess my whole issue with this is like, it reminds me of Nancy Pelosi. Hey, to find out what's in this, we need to pass it, and then we'll find out the cost and implement it and everything else. I mean, that is bothersome to me. I get a vision, but for me to go ahead and say, oh, that's great, I want to go that way, I'm hesitant to do that because I don't like some of it.
Sure, and this is a little bit different than, say, like an ordinance that we're putting in place and then trying to figure out what happens later. It's a vision that can be amended. It's the broad, the general brush stroke of, yeah, this is a great vision, which once that's established, as a planning document, then we start digging into the details, the costs, the priority area, You know, if we want to do paved trails first, if we want to do the new road first, maybe we want to do fishing pier first, and we'll have to come back and decide on all that going forward.
Do we have any other questions for the presenters?
I wish just one thing I want to look into, I'm just curious, some communities have introduced what they call a park ranger program, and it's volunteers. And what they do is they don't care what, all they do is their eyes in the parks, and they see something they don't like, they call the sheriff's department. So they see something they don't like going on in the park. There is some cost involved, most of the communities for this provide a vehicle. I'm sure there's some insurance requirements and things like that, but it's really not have the personnel, because you got a volunteer group, just they only do circulate through the park system all day and night. So some communities are doing that, it's been very, very successful. And thank y'all.
Thank you. No other discussion, we okay, let's go on consent agenda. So, next item.
Resolution instructing city manager and/or city attorney to obtain the necessary easements and right-of-way for the construction of New Canada Road by negotiation and/or condemnation proceedings, and authorizing the city attorney to file and pursue condemnation proceedings concerning tract 50 owned by Eugene Smith and Tricia Goodman Smith.
All right, so we have resolutions, we have any?
This is just accepting that some of the handful of these last acquisitions that we did.
Any objection, move this to the consent agenda? Next item now.
Resolution instructing city manager and/or city attorney to obtain the necessary easements and right-of-way for the construction of New Canada Road by negotiation and/or condemnation proceedings, and authorizing the city attorney to file and pursue condemnation proceedings concerning tract 24 owned by Kathy and Robin and Karen R. Carson.
Looks like we have the same situation, we have a discussion or questions for city attorney. Seeing none, consent agenda.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Data Network Systems Incorporated for the city hall security improvements.
Emily Carroll, city engineer. This project is sort of a follow-up to the improvements we've been doing in the reception area. This is for a new access control system, so we'll add keypads to each door on each side of the lobby. We will also change out the keypad at the front door because we've had a lot of trouble with it. We'll add a keypad to the back door here off the break room and to the side door. We currently don't have access control there. We'll also change out the keypads at IH and Senior Center to bring them all into the same system. So that we had two bids. The low bid was Data Network Systems, $12,386.35. The system that they're proposing is Infinius, IntelliM. And from what I understand, this is a really great system. I've even spoken to the mayor about it. He's sort of the guru with these types of things. This is the system that they actually use, and they've been through just about every system I think there is. With all the problems that we've had with our current system, which is Honeywell, even problems having it serviced, we feel like it's in our best interest to go to a new provider. So the company Data Network Systems is fully staffed with service technicians and have great reviews. So, any questions?
Seeing none, we go to the consent agenda. All right. Next item.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the renewal of intergovernmental agreement between Lakeland and Shelby County government establishing cooperation and coordination of certain activities for the operation of the Shelby County Household Hazardous Waste Facility.
This is just a renewal of our intergovernmental agreement. We've been part of this for a number of years. Our portion is $4,000, and it's just based, it's like a 50-cent per capita amount that is kind of divvied out to all the municipalities for the hazardous household waste facility that's operated at the Agri Center. So our residents have the ability to take any hazardous household waste to this facility. I think there's a certain amount per month and dispose of it at no charge. So this is just the renewal contract.
Are there any municipalities that are not part of this?
No, every municipality in Shelby County is.
Where did you take it?
At the Agri Center, it's,
Like, hazardous waste?
Household hazardous waste, so like computers, well, any kind of electronics, chemicals, like school chemicals, huh? Paint, yes. Now latex paint, if you dry it out, it's not considered hazardous. You allow it to dry out, but
Just take the lid off.
yeah, if you take the lid off and let it dry out, you can dispose of that in your trash. But oil-based paints for sure, paint thinners, any kind of household cleaners are really considered hazardous household waste. Batteries.
Light bulbs, those new light bulbs aren't those?
Yeah, there's a whole list. They have, I think we actually have it on our website, a link to their brochure. And I have some in my office also, and it gives a whole list of items that they will take at no charge.
And you can do that, and a resident can do that anytime?
Yeah, they allow you to dispose of a certain amount once per month, so they'll actually check your ID. And it's I can't remember what the amount is, but it's a significant amount that you can take once a month and dispose of there at no charge.
Somebody asked me, and I had no idea, I said, call the city. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Jim, will you make a note of that, your next occurrence column? Sounds great.
I've used that facility before, it's real easy. You drive up, take your ID, they unload it for you, they don't let you out of the car. So, pretty painless.
I like it.
Nice service.
All right, sounds good. Any other questions? Seeing none, consent agenda. Next item.
Resolution approving the purchase of a 2016 Ford F-150 four-wheel drive super cab truck through National Joint Powers Alliance Contract 102811.
This is the vehicle for the code enforcement, well, not code enforcement, city inspector. We're needing a new city inspector, so we need an extra vehicle. We don't have one currently in our fleet that can be utilized. So this is the vehicle that we had in the budget. And the NJPA is sort of an alternate to state contract. It's a nationally solicited contract pricing that any governmental agency or nonprofit can use. You have to be a member of that group, but it's state contract pricing, but on a national level is essentially what it is. So the amount of the truck is $28,299.45.
We budgeted 34, 35.
Yes. Now, it will have to have, we do have to put on some lighting, safety lighting and things like that, so that is why that amount is a little higher.
Okay. What about the next item, the 2017 F3? How does that come in versus?
That truck is the truck that was budgeted through sanitation for the Public Works Department. It's to haul the leaf vac and the chipper. The vehicles that we have currently in the fleet are not quite equipped to haul that heavy of a piece of equipment. Plus, it's a crew cab, so we can haul more than just two people. We can actually
How
haul
did it
more.
come in versus budget?
How did it come? It was in the sanitation. Do you mean amount?
Yeah, he wants to know if it's what we budgeted.
I think we budgeted 65 for that. I have to look back. It's less, significantly less than what we budgeted.
That's the right answer.
60 or 65. I wouldn't bring it to you if it was more than.
All right. Any other questions for item 7? Seeing none, that can go on consent agenda. Item 8, ma'am.
Resolution approving the purchase of a 2017 Ford Super Duty F-350 DRW crew cab truck through National Joint Powers Alliance Contract 102811.
Any other questions for him from this? Seeing none and no objection, that can go on. Did you have questions?
Maybe I just didn't hear, but we've already allocated this?
Yes, sir.
There's been money budgeted.
Okay, all right, okay.
All right, seeing no objection, we'll put it on the consent agenda as well. Looks like we have item 9.
Discussion regarding granting extensions to approved plan developments.
Sir.
Thank you. This is going to be a brief overview of our situation with plan developments. As you know, we have several, actually 9 plan developments that have been approved over the years that are still active, but they haven't been constructed yet. Now, right now, we're coming up on a year where a lot of these are expiring. 2017 is a big year where a lot of these plan developments are expiring. We have a couple going to the Planning Commission this month asking for extensions. So I felt it important to, you know, without necessarily setting a policy, want to make you aware of kind of where we are in the situation, just a broad overview, and when the individual projects come before you, we'll talk in more detail, but just to give you a picture, a brief picture, start here. So here's the 9, all in different colors. That represents the years in which they're expired. We have one project, Equestria, that is already expired. Expired some time ago. As some of you may remember, it came in front of the Board of Commissioners, Planning Commission, Board of Commissioners, and there's a request to redesign a portion of their city parkland being dedicated on the plan. There's a request to put it back and take that out. We you know, aren't in the business of acquiring more parks at this point through dedication. So they have been working on that and they haven't come back yet. So technically it's expired. Now, the way we've been handling these is if a plan expires, not necessarily off the books, we believe it would take the BOC to rescind that plan development to completely take it off our books. So it's sort of in that gray area. It's still technically alive. It hasn't been rescinded. We believe you can still extend it if you choose. So it's still on the table, but you're not obligated to, obviously. You could rescind it and pull it off the books. I will say a general statement, all these plans we believe are still good plans. They spent a lot of time going through here. There aren't any that, you know, we'd say, well, our ordinance has changed. This one is no longer desired. We really want it off the books. And none of these plans qualify for that. We believe these are all still very good plans and valid plans. So you have Equestria in the state that's already expired but has not been rescinded. The ones in yellow are all coming up in the next year or so on expiration. So we have the Meadows, which is the Jerry Olds project, Evergreen, the residential Evergreen, Evergreen Square. There's been an ownership change on half of this, so they'll be coming forward in the very near future to ask that you rescind that plan. The new owner wants the PD off the books and is going to apply for a rezoning just to make it a straight commercial development. So they'll be coming forward. That's actually in green. That has some years left out. They will be coming back to rescind it. Arcadia, this is one that will be coming up to the Planning Commission this month, along with Equestria, looking for an extension. This is a 2017 expiration. That's a Bells project. Aaron's Ridge is now a bank-owned project. That's also expiring next year. Then we have a couple, actually 3, that don't expire for a while. As you know, we just recently extended the Lake Forest plan development that could be replaced by the Lake District coming up. As of right now, Lake Forest is out there. Villages at Water's Edge is another Bells project that actually includes a bigger portion here. That's one that they came forward without the intent to build. We asked them to, so we could get our right-of-way from Beverly Rivera. They did it. They planted a subdivision with the condition that it would be extended much farther. I believe it has a 2021 or 2020 expiration on that. Lakeland Commons was also extended fairly recently with their redesign when they took out the single-family residential and put in the townhomes over retail. So that project is still active and out there. There has been some movement on that one as well. So the big issue and why this is important is our sewer system. As you know very well, that we're running out of capacity in our sewer system. Keeping these on the books, they've reserved a spot in our system. So as new development comes forward, and we do have another new one that's looking at this piece, the Vega Bartlett piece. We don't want to be in a situation where a developer comes in for a new approval, he's ready to go, he's got the financing in place, and we have to say, no, sorry, there's no room in our sewer system, but we have all these sitting out here that may or may not develop, and they're in no hurry to develop. So that's something we need to consider case by case moving forward on which ones we extend and which ones we don't. Now, we are working towards that new trunk line that would come down the eastern side of the city that would relieve a lot of that pressure. A couple of existing developments would be redirected to the new trunk line, and a new development along Chambers Chapel could go to that new trunk line. So that's something to consider. We're about 3 years out, we believe. As you know, the design of the interceptors and budget for this year's get the design done with construction in 3, we hope. So we're really talking about the interim in what to do. So as these come forward as individual projects, we will have more information, what the impact would be with that development on the overall system. And also talk to some, I think it's good questions for the developers. What is their projection for starting construction? I know the Planning Commission has been recommending shorter extensions rather than longer ones, I think is key. Do you extend them a year and say, okay, you have a year to get something going? Obviously not construction, but at least some movement towards developing. If there's developers out there who just have no wherewithal at all to get a project done in the next several years, are those ones we talk about taking off the books. So there's a lot of questions that we'll ask, but this month coming forward, you will see Arcadia and Equestria. They'll get the Planning Commission this month. You'll see it actually in August. So if any questions about that, this is kind of a general overview of it.
I would just say that, you know, had to raise sewer rates, water rates, because of mainly the capacity that was already spoken for.
Mhm.
So I'm inclined, if they are not imminent in building, that I don't want to have to look our citizens in the eye and say that we had to adjust rates because of people that may come 5 or 6 years from now. So if they are not ready to be in Lakeland, invest in Lakeland, I don't want to keep holding service. So. Thank you.
Thank you.
Memphis Road, item 10.
Discussion on sale of Memphis Arlington properties.
Thank you. So I'll give you an update on this. As you know, we're looking into selling 2 properties that we own. One is the rental house right behind City Hall. The other is 100 acres down farther in Memphis Arlington before you get to Canada Road. Both are in progress. We've enlisted Billy Rogers, a Lakeland resident and member of the Chamber of Commerce, to help us with that. He's a real estate agent, a very good one. He and I have been talking over the past several weeks. The main one for consideration is the rental house. We had a renter in there until this past weekend. He is now out. The house is clean. It's ready to go. However, there are some maintenance issues in the house that we're going to have to repair before we put it on the market. So we have a contractor coming out. He'll be up early next week to take a look. Some things like the floor in the kitchen is bowed, the wood floor, and other appliance issues, some cosmetic things we want to take care of before he gets a list price and puts it out there.
Was this due to any of the renters, or did it just, we rented it with both floor, or?
Over the years, it sort of developed. I wouldn't say it's any cause of the renter at all. I think, there are bigger issues that, obviously our intent for the house was not a long-term residence, so there wasn't a whole lot of maintenance put into it. And that, the renter understood that. So now we're at a point where, we still don't want to, dump a whole lot of money into it. We do want to make the base improvements to make it sellable. So as we talked about a month or so ago when I brought this forward first, we will bring this back before we list anything so you can see the list price and kind of see where we are. But I just want to give you an update tonight. We don't have a list price yet, but it will be forthcoming.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any announcements? Seeing none, I have a motion to adjourn from Commissioner Dodd. Second from Commissioner Plunk. Without objection, we are.
This is my first time that everything has been considered.